Welcome to the Change Revolution podcast with your host, Phil Cooke.
From time to time, it's important to remember that branding is about action. It's about doing. It's not about just talking. It's not about saying. It's really about action. It's about doing. It's interesting. Andy Crouch wrote a great book this year called Culture Making. And it's a terrific book about what is culture, how do we impact culture, how do we change culture. And one of the things he said that I thought was really interesting is Christians like to talk about changing the culture, but the fact is you actually change culture by making better culture. You actually impact the culture, not just by talking about it. I mean, talking about it is good and discussing it and having these kind of conversations. But the fact is you really start to impact culture when you start making better films, start making better art, writing better books, doing those kind of things that help impact the river of culture and where it flows. The same thing is true about branding. So many people have started looking at branding as religion. They want, for instance, they'll come to Cooke Pictures and they'll ask us to brand their organization, and they expect us to give them some kind of a revelation about what their story is and who they are. And the fact is we do a brand evaluation, and we'll sit with them and talk about their strengths and their weaknesses and their calling and their voice and help them discover what their message is. But the truth is, it's not a revelation that we lay on you. The fact is, a brand is not what we say it is. It's what they say it is. It's ultimately how people react to you. I love the question, what do people think of when they think of you? I've talked about that a number of times on this podcast. What do people think of when they think of you is really the key question in branding. So when it comes to creating a brand for your organization, you have to think about not just coming up with a revelation about who we are and what our story is, but you have to shape that story by the products and the projects that you create. It's done by doing, it's done by action, because the public will perceive the website that you create, the television, the video, the short films, the writing, the books, all those kind of, the literature, all those kind of things that go into expressing your story. And so from that perspective, it's really about the expression that creates the brand, not just the story that creates the brand. So it's very important that as you start shaping who you are and what your message is and discovering your voice, which all those things are important, the truth is you reveal those things and you really project those things through the projects that you create. Innovation, originality, the new stuff. It's very, very important. So think in terms of branding as action. Branding is a process. I meet too many companies that view branding as some kind of a religion. One company spent $250,000 and came up with a 400-page branding study. You know what? I'm not against that, but I wouldn't even know what to do with a 400-page branding report. I find that the clients that we've been the most successful with are clients that we've created a process for branding. By doing the creative projects, doing the innovation, and using those projects to help shape their story, because ultimately it's not who you say the organization is, it's what they say it is. That's the key to successful branding. It's about action, it's about doing.
Join us for more of this conversation at Phil's Change Revolution blog at philcooke.com. That's PHILCOOKE.com. And keep checking this podcast for more up-to-date dispatches from the front lines of media, faith, and culture.